So we are discussing from the 15th chapter, and Brahmaji is continuing the discussion of the spiritual world. And now he is describing about the nature of Lakshmi Devi. So Lakshmi Devi, the beautiful verse comes there, Shri Rupini Konayati Charanar Vindam Leelam Bhujena Harisadmani Mukta Dosha Samlakshate Svatika Kudya Upetya Himnim Sammarjati Vayadanugrahane Anyayatanaha. So Lakshmi Devi, she has a lotus flower in her hand and she has ankle bells which are tinkling, and she is sweeping the floor of Vaikuntha, which has no dust. It is made up of gold and crystals and emeralds. And Srila Prabhupada describes that this Lakshmi Devi, she is Mukta Dosha. Mukta Dosha means she has no fault of being Chanchala. So she is Chanchala. Chanchala means she doesn't stay at one place. But in spiritual world, she has no fault like this. She is always steady at the lotus feet of the Lord, serving him. So that's how, mind also gives us so many proposals, moving from one object to another object, not allowing us to focus on the holy names, not allowing us to focus on the pastimes of the Lord. So the more we understand the glorious nature of the Lord's pastimes, Lord's service, the more we'll be focused, the more we'll be steady. Because Lakshmi Devi knows the nature of Lord's service, therefore she is steady. So that is actually the pride of a devotee. As Kaviraj Goswami also describes in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna Das Abhimane Anand Sindhu Brahma Sukha Yar Age Tara Ek Bindu Nahi Ek Bindu. So the Krishna Das Abhiman, the pride of becoming the servant of Krishna, it is unimaginably blissful. And it cannot be compared even to Brahmananda, even if it is multiplied by millions of times. So after describing the glorious service of Lakshmi Devi, now he describes the devotion of Lakshmi Devi. He says, Brahmaji is describing that every day Lakshmi Devi, she worships the Lord in her beautiful garden by offering various flowers, and she gazes at the beautiful face of the Lord, and she considers that this face is so fortunate because Lord has shown her his mercy to Lakshmi Devi in this form. So after describing the beautiful nature of Vaikuntha and Lakshmi and all the inhabitants of Vaikuntha now, very interesting, Brahmaji describes who can enter Vaikuntha. Yanna vrajantya vido rachananuvada shinvanti anya vishaya kukatamatagni yastu shruta hat bhagain rivirata sara tastan shupanta sarane shutama suhantaha. Anybody who does not hear the pastimes of the Lord, rachananuvada na shinvanti, those who do not hear the pastimes of Lord Vaikuntha, and what do? Srinvanti anya vishaya. They hear all the other topics, which are all kukatha. Kukatha means they are not worth hearing. All the topics of this world, all the news of this world. As Radha Govind Maharaj says, ye tha kachra aaj tak intajar kariye kal tak. That is what is the news. All the garbage of the world, they are accumulating and telling us. They are all kukatha. It is all bad information, bad katha, not worth hearing. So those who do not hear the pastimes of Lord and they hear the other topics, yastu shruta hat bhagai, you should understand that they are most unfortunate. Their condition is very much regrettable. And therefore, they never enter Vaikuntha. Tasta shipantya saraneshu tama suhanta. They are thrown in the darkest regions of ignorance. So Chakravarti Thakur writes, those who hear topics other than the glorifications of Krishna, what are these topics? They are the books of logic and the material books, newspaper especially, all the novels, they are all kukatha because they have nothing to do with Krishna. So therefore, the condition of people who are engrossed in such topics, It is very, very regrettable. Ashcharyam etadhi manushya loke sudham parityajya visham pibanti namani narayana gocharani tyatvanya vacha kuhaka pathanti. It is so very astonishing that people, they are giving up nectar and drinking poison willingly. Shudham parityajya visham pibanti. Vish ko pee rahe hain, sudha ko chhod ke. Sudha means amrit. So Prabhupada writes, the most unfortunate person is who, the Mayavadis. Because they reject the form of the Lord. They think that the form of the Lord is material. Their position is most regrettable. And because of this mentality, they will go to hell. Tamasu hanta, they will be thrown to the darkest regions of ignorance. But the fortunate people discuss Harikatha. So anybody who gets a chance to hear Harikatha, discuss Harikatha, they are most fortunate. And then Brahmaji describes the importance of human form of life. Ye abhyarthitaam pichano nrigatim prapanna jnanam cha tattva vishayam saha dharmam yatra naradanam bhagavato vitarantya mushyam sammohita vitataya batamaya yate. So Brahmaji is telling, oh Devatas, human form of life is so very rare that, Brahmaji is saying, I also desire to have a human form. So we may be thinking, Arey, Devatas are fortunate, but the best of the Devata, Brahmaji is thinking that human form is the best. Jnanam cha tattva vishayam. Why? Because in this
Prabhuji, we've lost you again. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. So even Brahmaji wants to take birth as a human because in the human form, one can achieve the perfection of life. Naradhanam bhagavato vitarantya mushya. But after getting human form, if somebody does not understand the value of it, then you should understand he is completely bewildered by material nature. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Brahmaji is saying, oh Devtas, oh demigods, those who take human birth, they are qualified to go to Vaikuntha and not the Devatas. So Devatas are more fortunate than even humans. Humans are more fortunate even than Devatas. So that is the power of a human birth. Why Devatas are not so fortunate? Because Bhagavatam describes 5th canto, Devatas are praying that, in this heaven, there is so much of sense gratification that we cannot remember you, my Lord. Kim dushkaraina kratubhistapo vratai dana devirva dvijayena falguna na yatra narayana pad pankaja smriti pramushta tishayendriya utsavat. So he says, all the Devatas are praying, oh my Lord, we have done so much of tapasya, vrata, dan, everything we have done, and we have attained this heaven. But the problem in this heaven is, there is no facility to remember you because so much of sense gratification is there. When things go nice, people don't remember God so much. So earth is a place where there is thodi khushi, thoda gam, it is all mixed. So therefore, it is more conducive to remember Krishna. That is how human birth is so very rare. It is said, it is described in the 5th canto, that even the sages of Satya Yuga wants to take birth in Kali Yuga. That is the glory of Kali Yuga. In Kali Yuga, in human form. Why they want to take birth in Kali Yuga? Because, in Kali Yuga, there is a quota system. Just like in every exam, some caste, they have some reservation. And even if they score less, they will get admission in that college. In Kali Yuga, although people of Kali Yuga, they are so dull, they have no strength to do any tapasya, but still, by small tapasya, they can get the highest. That's why the sages say, "अरे थोड़ा सा मेहनत करके भगवत धाम जा सकते हैं." I also want to take birth in Kali Yuga as a human form. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that, it is not possible to go back to the spiritual world in one life generally. But if somebody is really sincere and serious, then he can be successful. So therefore, we should not lose this, very, very rare opportunity of the human form of life. Nridehamadyam sulabham sudurlabham plavam sukalpam gurukarna dharam. This human body is like a perfectly made boat which can take us across this ocean of material existence. And the spiritual master is like the captain of the boat. Guru Karna Dhara. He's a Karnadhar. And therefore, one can take shelter of this boat of human form and cross this ocean. So that's why the Devatas, they are, praying like this. So Brahmaji says, anybody who gets a human form is the most fortunate. And then he speaks another verse. Yanna brajantya gavido rachana anuvada shinvantiye anya vishaya kukat. Therefore, Brahmaji is saying the importance of human form of life is very great. And then Brahmaji describes what is the qualification to go to Vaikuntha. The qualification to go to Vaikuntha, he describes. Yacha brajanta nimisham rishabhanuvritya dure yamahyuparina sprihani yashila bharaturmita suyashasa kathananuraga vaiklavya bashpakalaya pulaki kritanga. So anybody who takes shelter of this process of Krishna consciousness and chants the name of the Lord, and he develops the symptoms of ecstasy, hair standing on end, voice breaking, Shved, Kampa, Romanch, Ashru, all these things, they are qualified to enter Vaikuntha. Other people are not qualified to enter Vaikuntha. So that is the glory of Vaikuntha. And Srila Prabhupada describes one can enter Vaikuntha only if he has developed good qualities. Otherwise, it is not possible. What are the good qualities? Not just mundane good qualities, but devotional qualities. Because with devotional qualities, one can please the Lord. So Prabhupada writes, just like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is described, there are 26 prominent qualities of a devotee. So we should try to develop these qualities. And by the practice of Krishna consciousness, in due course of time, they will come automatically and they will become very, very stabilized in our, consciousness. Then Prabhupada writes, problem is, why we don't develop these ecstatic symptoms, why we don't develop attraction for Krishna's holy names? Because we do offenses. While we are chanting, we make offenses. And Prabhupada in detail describes the 10 offenses against the holy name. And, I think 2-page purports is dedicated to all these, offenses. And then he says that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a remedy. If somebody is chanting and making offenses, what he should do? He should try to chant the names of Lord Nityananda. You should try to chant the names of Lord Chaitanya. Otherwise, even if somebody chants for many, many lifetimes, he will not achieve perfection if he is committing offenses. So therefore, after describing this, now Brahmaji continues the story that oh, so after explaining this wonderful nature of the Vaikuntha and who can enter and who cannot enter Vaikuntha, I'll just stop my video so that it will be easy, I think. So those who can enter, who cannot enter, Brahmaji described, and now he is describing a wonderful story which happened there. So he described that in Vaikuntha there is no fault, there is no blemish. But now he's saying that in this blemish-free nature, four Kumaras, they committed an offense. And what was this offense? That's how Brahmaji now continues the story. He says, one time, four sons of mine, Sanak, Sanatan, Sanandan, and Sanat Kumar, they were roaming around and they reached Vaikuntha by their mystic yogic powers. And there they experienced unprecedented happiness. Chakravarti Thakur writes that actually they went to the spiritual world not because of their yogic powers, but by the mercy of the Lord. Because Lord wanted to show a wonderful lesson to the whole world that how even a person who is Brahmavadi, who is attracted to impersonal Brahman, he gets attracted to the process of Krishna consciousness, to the process of bhakti, and he becomes a devotee. So Srila Prabhupada, he describes that Lord of Vaikuntha is described as Vishwa Guru and Bhuvaneka Vandyam. Bhuvaneka Vandyam is the only worshipable personality in the three worlds. So the sages, the four Kumaras, they reached there, and they, as soon as they reached the doors of this Vaikuntha, they could pass through 6 gates without problem. But as soon as they entered the 7th gate, they were completely bewildered because they were stopped. They were stopped by the four Kumaras. They were stopped by the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha. So the gatekeepers of Vaikuntha are Jai and Vijay. And Jai and Vijay, as soon as they saw these 4, 5 years old children, entering Vaikuntha, they stopped them. Because they were thinking these are small children, they are not supposed to be here. This spiritual world, this Vaikuntha is not for ordinary children. This is not a playground for them. So they stopped them. And as soon as they were stopped, they became very, very angry. So Jai Vijay, they actually stopped them in a very, very wrong way. They were just entering and they put their, gada, their club in front of these 4 small children. And that's how these 4 Kumaras, they became very angry. Jai Vijay, they were, Brahmaji says, they had frowned eyebrows and discontented nostrils and reddish eyes. They were very angry. Jai Vijay had a fault. They were thinking that Lord's duty only belongs to, the residents of Vaikuntha. How can these, 4 children have darshan of Lord? And they were a little proud of their wealth. What is that wealth? The wealth of, the darshan of the Lord. So therefore, they stopped these sages. And these small children, they were looking like small, but they were very, very old. They are the oldest creatures in the creation. They were first created beings. They are very oldest, but they had maintained themselves as 5 years old children. And these sages, small, the 4 Kumaras, they had no idea of ours and theirs. So without even asking the Jay and Vijay, they were entering the Vaikuntha. And Prabhupada writes that they were like small children. A child can enter any place, and there is, people, they generally welcome children. Nobody stops a child. But when a child is stopped from doing something or entering somewhere, he becomes angry. And that's what happened to the four Kumaras. They are like child-like saintly personalities. They were entering Vaikuntha and they were stopped. So naturally, they became very, very angry. And as a result of this, they started, showing their anger by speaking. So interestingly, one of the acharyas, they tell that why these four Kumaras could enter the 6 gates and not the 7th gate. The 6 gates of Vaikuntha represent the 6 opulences of the Lord. And because these 4 Kumaras, they were completely detached from anything of this world, they could naturally very easily enter the 6 gates. The 7th gate represents bhakti. And these 4 Kumaras, they were not pure devotees. They were Jnana Mishra Bhakta. And that's why they could not enter the gates of Vaikuntha, the 7th gate. And Jai Vijay, they stopped them. And acharyas, they say, actually, they didn't do it in a right way. They could have told these small, children, childlike saintly personalities, please wait for some time. We'll go and ask the Lord, maybe he's taking rest. They didn't tell anything to these 4 Kumaras. They just stopped them. And that made these 4 Kumaras very angry. And they started addressing this Jai Vijay very strongly. And Prabhupada writes, when there is a desire and the desire is not fulfilled, then the natural outcome is anger. So Krodha is Kama Anuja. Younger brother of desire is anger. So because the 4 Kumaras, they were stopped. So they became very, very angry. Prabhupada writes, what is the difference between anger of a materialist and anger of a devotee? Materialist becomes angry when his sense gratification is obstructed. A devotee becomes angry when Krishna's sense gratification is obstructed. So these 4 Kumaras, they actually wanted to have darshan of the Lord. That was a spiritual desire. That was not a material desire. And because these Jai and Vijay obstructed this spiritual desire, therefore they became angry. And as a result, they started speaking very, very strongly. They were in so much anger, it seemed that they will burn the entire universe. It seemed that the entire universe will be now, devastated. So then these 4 Kumaras, they started criticizing Jai Vijay. They say, who are these 2 persons? They have a discordant mentality, means they are not in line with the desire of the Lord. And how are these 2 people living in Vaikuntha? They have no conception of who is qualified to enter and who is not qualified. They are just thinking that we are enemies. In this world, everybody thinks that whatever my consciousness is, other people are also thinking the same way. The world is a mirror of your own consciousness. So they say these 2 people, they are imposters. Because they are enemies of Lord, they are thinking that everyone is the enemy of the Lord. And because Jai Vijay, the 4 Kumaras, they say, how can you think that anyone who is enemy of the Lord can enter the Vaikuntha? But Lord is all powerful. He is controlling everything in this universe. How can any enemy do any harm to the Lord? And how can any enemy enter Vaikuntha without Lord's permission? So therefore, you are not qualified to stay in Vaikuntha, because in Vaikuntha, there is complete harmony. There is complete harmony between the residents of Vaikuntha and the Supreme Personality. So therefore, they started chastising. They are saying, "Oh fools, listen, those who you mistrust are within the Lord." That means everyone in this universe, they are, coming from the Lord only. So you don't understand the power of the Lord. So Hare Krishna. Yeah. So therefore, these four Kumaras, they continue to chastise these gatekeepers. And Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that in Vaikuntha, there is no disharmony between the Lord and the residents. And therefore, there is no cause of fear. And in Vaikuntha, as we have heard earlier also, that there is no envy in the spiritual world. Everyone in this spiritual world is in line with the desires of the Lord. Yatra naisarga durvaira saha sanramigadaya mitrani va ajitavasha druta ruta tarshakadikam. Everyone's in the spiritual world stays like friends. Mitrani iva. There is no enmity in the spiritual world. So therefore, they were criticizing. Still, after criticizing Jai Vijay, still they were not pacified. So they cursed them out of anger. They said, therefore, you are not qualified to stay in this spiritual world. You go to the material world where living entities have three kinds of enemies. Who are the three kinds of enemies? Lust, anger, and greed. Kama ish, as Krishna says in 16th chapter, Trividham narakasyedam dwaram nashanam atmanah kamah krodha tatha lobha tasmadetat trayam trajit. So therefore, Prabhupada writes that the reason why pure souls come into this existential circumstance of the material world is the desire to enjoy separately from the Lord. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ichha dvesh samuttena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa. So after this, they were cursed, and Brahmaji continues. Jai Vijay, they became very fearful, and they fell at the feet of four Kumaras because they were thinking, already they have cursed us. If we will not pacify them, they will curse us more. So better to fall down at their feet and ask forgiveness. So Jai Vijay, they tell, we are not asking forgiveness, and we are not asking to nullify the curse. Whatever you have given, whatever punishment you have given, we accept it. But we have just one request. Let our memory of the Lord not get disturbed. We may always remember the Lord in whatever circumstance we may be. Prabhupada writes, a devotee is always concerned with one thing, remembering Krishna. Any punishment is tolerable for a devotee unless it doesn't affect remembrance of Krishna. And that's what we see in the case of Parikshit Maharaj also. When he was cursed to die in 7 days, what is he praying? Tamopayatam pratiyantu vipra ganga cha devi dhritachittam Dijopasrishtam kuhakastakshako va dashatvalam gayata Vishnu gatha. So he says, "O sages, let that takshaka or whatever mystical bird the son of the sage has created, let it come and bite me. You all keep on singing the glories of the Lord. I am not so much concerned about my death. I am just concerned about remembering Krishna." So therefore, devotees are fearful of offending Vaishnavas and forgetting the Lord. So therefore, these four, the sages, the gatekeepers, they are telling, we may not forget the Lord. We don't mind going through any punishment, but please give us this one benediction. We may not forget the Lord. And actually, after these four Kumaras cursed Jai and Vijay, they also realized that they have committed a offense. Because Jai Vijay are also pure devotees and they have cursed pure devotees. So they realize that they have also committed a mistake. So they also, are repentant of that. And as they are repenting, the Supreme Lord appears there. The Supreme Lord arrives and gives darshan to all these four Kumaras and Jai and Vijay also. And as soon as the four Kumaras, they have darshan of the Lord, first time in their life, they have seen the beautiful darshan of the Lord and they are amazed. That's why they had come for. They had come to have darshan of the Lord. That was their original intention. And now, first time they were having darshan of the Lord. So Lord came along with Lakshmi Devi. He didn't come alone. Why Lord came? Because he understood my devotees are in trouble. Jai Vijay are being cursed. So let me go and solve the problem. Otherwise, it will become more and more worse. And because these four Kumaras, they were also repenting. So Lord wanted to pacify them also. And Lord wanted to give some solace to Jai and Vijay also. So having all these thoughts in the mind, Lord appeared there. And Brahmaji describes the beauty of the Lord in wonderful words, choicest verses, how Lord has beautiful form, beautiful lotus-like eyes. He is wearing a kaustubhamala, vanmala, garland of 5-color flowers. And so much beautiful form is described. And then, after describing the beauty of the Lord, Brahmaji describes what happened to the four Kumaras just by having darshan of the Lord. As Lord appeared there, the wind carried the aroma of the lotus feet of the Lord and entered the nostrils of the four Kumaras. So the aroma of the lotus feet of the Lord is mixed with the tulsi also, tulsi, fragrance of tulsi, because tulsi is also always there at the lotus feet. So as this fragrant air mixed with tulsi and the saffron particles which are at the lotus feet of the Lord, they entered the nostrils of four Kumaras. They were agitated with feelings of devotion. First time in their life, because they were absorbed in Brahman. Tasyaravinda nayanasya padaravinda kenjal kamishra tulasi makaranda vayu antargata swavivarena chakara tesham sanchobham akshara jusham apichitta tanavoh. So tasya aravinda nayana. So the lotus-eyed Lord, padaravinda, beautifully Brahmaji is describing the lotus feet of the lotus-eyed Lord. In that, kinjalka. Kinjalk means the saffron particles. Mishra tulasi. Saffron particles and tulasi, they both are there at the lotus feet of the Lord. And the air carried the aroma of the lotus feet and entered antargata swavivarena chakara tesham, and entered the nostrils of the law of these four Kumaras, and they became agitated with the feelings of devotion. Sankshobham. Sankshobham means they got agitated with devotional feelings. So first their mind got agitated and then their bodies got agitated. So Chakravarti Thakur writes a wonderful thing. A person, if he wants to conquer another enemy, what he does? He first kills the leader and then plunders the place and then disturbs everything. So the leader of the senses is the mind. So the mind of the Kumaras were conquered, and then all the senses also were conquered. And now they are seeing the beautiful form of the Lord, beautiful face of the Lord, which is the color of the Lord's beautiful face is like the inside of a blue lotus. And the smile of the Lord is like the jasmine flower. And the four Kumaras, they are looking at the nails of the Lord. There's a beautiful effect when we have darshan of the lotus feet of the Lord, especially the nails of the Lord. Third canto describes, Yashauch Sanchintayed Bhagavatas Charanarvindam Vajrankushadvajasaroruhalanchanadhyam Uttungarakta Vilasannaka Chakravala Jyotsna Virahatamahadaridayandhakaram. We should take darshan of the lotus feet of the Lord for a long time. Why? Especially the nails of the Lord. Because there is a effulgence which comes from the nails of the Lord. We may not experience it with our material eyes, but it is there. So when we have darshan of the lotus feet of the Lord, the light, the effulgence which comes from the nails of the Lord destroys the darkness which is there in the heart. So all these four Kumaras, they are having the darshan of the nails of the Lord. And the scent of the tulsi and the saffron particles purified the mind and the senses of the four Kumaras. And they had never seen such beauty. So generally, when we see something beautiful, we forget everything else. And we just keep looking at that form. And that's what happened to four Kumaras. They were just astonished. They were just lost seeing the beauty of the Lord. They could not see anything else. We know the story of Dhanurdas. In South India, there was a procession going on in Srirangam, and Sri Ranganath, the beautiful Utsav Murti of Ranganath, was being taken all over Srirangam, and everybody was there in procession, taking darshan of this beautiful deity of Ranganath. But there was one person who was looking at a beautiful lady, and especially her eyes. And Ramanujacharya, he was there that time. So he saw this scene and he was little amused to see, everybody is taking darshan of the Lord. And this person is so, shameless. In everyone's presence, he is just looking at this lady. So he called this person and asked, what are you doing? Don't you realize Lord is going? You should have darshan of the Lord. He said, oh, Ramanujacharya, I have never seen anything beautiful like the eyes of this lady. So Ramanujacharya felt compassionate. And he said, if I'll show you something more beautiful than the eyes of this lady, will you give up this? He said, of course, I am a connoisseur of beauty. You show me something better and I look at that. But I don't think there is anything more beautiful than the eyes of this lady. Next morning, Ramanujacharya called him in the Mangal Arati and he made him see the beautiful eyes of Sri Ranganath. And seeing beauty of Lord Ranganath, he gave up all material desires and he became a devotee. So that's what happened to four Kumaras also. They were completely absorbed and they became devotee. Seeing the beautiful form, smelling the aroma of the Lord's body. And the four Kumaras, they start offering prayers. In those prayers, they are saying, oh my Lord, by mercy of our father Brahmaji, we have got your darshan. That means by the mercy of devotee, we have got your darshan. Otherwise, it is not possible to have your darshan. Only by the mercy of devotee, one can get the Lord. Krishna se tomara Krishna dite para tomara shakati ache. Ami to kangala Krishna Krishna boli dhai tava pache pache. So the four Kumaras, they offer beautiful prayers, expressing their gratitude that you manifested in front of such fallen people like us. We have offended your devotees, but still you have appeared in front of us, oh my Lord. By your mercy, we have become devotees. We are completely absorbed in impersonal Brahman. Now we are repenting. How many years we have just spent uselessly? And then they say, what to speak of the bliss in meeting you directly, oh my Lord? The experience of having your darshan is unimaginable. We cannot even describe what fortune it is It is much greater than the bliss of Brahman. Now we have realized this. And then they speak this wonderful verse. Nityantikam viganayantyapiste prasadam kim vanyat arpita bhayam bruva unnayaste yengatvangriya sharana bhavata kathayam kirtanya tirtha yashasha kushalar sagyaha. They say, devotees, because they are always immersed in experiencing the taste of hearing Hari Katha, they do not consider liberation as your mercy, because liberation is insignificant. We are not interested in liberation. After hearing all this, the Lord, he asks, okay, but now are you fixed in bhakti? Or still, are you interested in liberation? Please tell me clearly. So the four Kumaras say, oh my Lord, if you like, put us in hell also. But please give us your prem bhakti, because we have attained such bliss by having your darshan. So therefore, we are offering all respects unto you. So that's how this chapter ends. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Sorry for all the inconveniences. We'll stop here. We'll continue next time. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granthra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.